Thomas.
What's that?
Tricia Hunter. Tracy, yes.
Yeah, so, well, I think when you did it,
Judith Henkel. There's Sadler. We got lots. And we're
We got to think about registering, but there's no date.
Yes.
About when you have to register by.
Yeah.
I'll just call. We'll just call and take care of it.
I didn't say it.
So Lori's on her way. Okay.
She's got stuck by a train or something.
Okay.
I'm not going to the sea cabins, right? Are you good?
Good afternoon, everyone. We'd like to start the Personnel Committee meeting. And I'd like to offer a courtesy of the floor at this time. Seeing none, then we're going to get started with our agenda. First on the list is a review of the county executive's appointments and reappointments. And the first one is Children, Youth, and Family Advisory Board. We have recommended for appointment to the Children, Youth, and Family Advisory Board. We have David Goss, Windgap. And this is the recommendation and letter and resume attached. We also have Terry Thomas with resume attached. And it's being considered for a 2-year term. And we have Patricia Hunter for reappointment. Resume is attached. And we have another one. Tracy Piazza, a reappointment. Resume attached. Please review. That, I think, is the last one for the Children, Youth, and Family Advisory Boards. We're missing Miss Fargo Hafner. She is in traffic, and she's on her. Oh, she just popped in.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do we have any comments, or should we be able to move this to full council tomorrow night for these appointments from the board?
I'm ready. I'll make a
Okay.
motion to move
Okay.
it. Sure. why
Mr.
not?
Warner?
I'll
Okay.
recommend it.
All right. Okay. So moved.
Move them on for
All
tomorrow.
right. Moving along, we have Open Space and Advisory Board. We have a reappointment for Judith Henkel and a reappointment for Claire Sadler. And I think there's a letter and a resume there with those. And another one, Rosemary Furr. Oh, I'm sorry. That's where we stopped, right there. There's two. Okay. All right. Do we have any comments or? Yes.
Just a question for the Open Space Advisory Board. These two members, are they regular attendees at the meeting? I see a head.
Yes, they attend regularly. Judith Henkel's been one of the founding members, and Claire's been on, I believe, for the past 4 or 5 years now.
Okay. Good.
Are any of them here tonight? Excuse me, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Is anybody here tonight?
Judy Henkel is here.
Oh, Judy Henkel's here. I just wondered if you had anything you wanted to say.
Nothing? Okay.
The,
Thank
I guess the other issue is,
Well, what do you want to do with
oh,
these?
okay, all right. She didn't want, did you want to come up and say anything? No?
We,
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. Nope. All right. Okay. Moving forward, any questions? Any comments? No? All right, moving forward. Great. Moving on to the last set of appointments is for the Graysdale Advisory Board. Okay, okay. For the removal, recommendations for removal of member, Graysdale Advisory Board. Thank you, Mr. Lawton. I'm requesting the following members be removed from the Graysdale Advisory Board. Member Rosemary Furr, and recommendation for removal of member to the Graysdale Advisory Board, Kenneth Sun. There's letters on the back side.
yeah.
Any questions or comments? Now would be the time.
They haven't shown up for a meeting in 6 months?
No,
Well,
some longer, like the one person hasn't been the whole time I was on, and that's
Wow.
over a year. So,
I think that
Glad
speaks for
somebody picked
itself.
up on that. So three times, right? If you miss 3 in a row, that pretty much is grounds, right?
yeah, I think unless you call in or you
Okay.
say them,
Sure.
like, you know,
And these have been 6. All right. Motion to move, we have a motion to move it forward to full council?
I'll make
Okay, thank you. Okay, review of the personnel requests. We have a request from the Department of Community and Economic Development in the form of a resolution. It is hereby resolved that the Northampton County Council, that one full-time position of grant writer, pay grade CS 24-1A, salary of $50,000 shall be created in the Department of Community and Economic Development, effective March 21st, 2019. Questions and comments on the request from? I would like to comment. I think putting on a grant writer is a good thing because that's where the money is, and that's where you find the money to fund the projects, which might create more money. So, anyway, move to full council. Got a question?
I just want to ask the administration, will they, including Human Services, Veterans Affairs, and Public Works, so they're going to basically help pretty much anybody in the county, in the county government who may need help?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
may I ask a question? Do we have a job description that's set up already for this position?
Yes.
I don't know that I have it with me.
I'm
Liz
sorry,
may.
I'm not in the habit of sending the job description. Yes, we do.
I didn't ask for that. I'm saying, do we have it in our?
Yes.
Okay.
So basically, I'd like to ask council to please grant us this person's position. 2018, we actually had 2 staff member positions removed from our office, and we wanted to wait. I needed to get a full year in to assess what we were doing and what all the moving parts are. And honestly, since the year that I've been here, we have assisted several departments within the county to obtain funding and grants from Veterans Affairs. We work directly, almost on a daily basis, with Human Services. I've done a DEP grant application for Public Works for the solar charging machines, which we were awarded. But we can't do much more with the limited staff that we have. And so this person's job will be strictly to focus on obtaining grants from the federal and state levels. In addition to assisting every department within the county itself, we're also going to be able to be a valuable tool for the municipalities that don't have the staff in their own municipalities when they need a helping hand and guidance. So I think it's a very valuable position, and ideally with a total of just over $73,000 costs with salary and benefits. This position potentially could bring in 4 or 5 times that amount in the very first year.
Thank you.
I just have a question, it's even not for Tina. Liz, I mean, I know we don't usually get job descriptions, but when we're creating a brand-new position, a totally new thing, it might be helpful. I don't know how the rest of council feels. I wouldn't mind reading it.
You'll have it before the vote tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's great. I just thought of that, you know, it's something brand new. I'm curious about how it plays out. I mean, we're used to caseworkers and all the other stuff, we've seen them, but that's all I ask. Thanks.
Sure.
Mr. Kuzic?
Yes, I'll be in support of this. I think it's a good idea, specifically since you brought up the smaller townships, rural townships and boroughs that just don't have the staff or the capacity to even do like a state grant.
Absolutely.
So I would just encourage you to reach out to all of the municipalities, but specifically some of the smaller and rural ones. As soon as this person comes on board,
Yep.
make those contacts with our township secretaries or township managers.
No,
So
absolutely, we'll do that.
thank you.
Sure.
Great.
Do you need a motion to put this?
Oh, yeah, motion to move it forward.
So moved.
Great. And I want to comment on the proactive. Your department could have just sat there and, wallowed in it or look ahead, so, great.
Thank you.
Okay, well, moving forward here, we have the next thing on the agenda is the Department of Human Services has a resolution here. Human Services, okay. And this resolution is hereby resolved by the Northampton County Council that one full-time position of human resource analyst, pay grade HS 41, salary of $53,958 shall be eliminated, and one full-time position of accountant 2, pay grade HS 38A, salary $47,284 shall be created. And with that, since you're at the podium, if you would like to comment, or...
Sure. The position, the HR analyst position is vacant, so it's and it's not a need that we have. Georgine, my secretary, has been fulfilling many of those duties. Sorry. And the new deputy of human services will fill some of the other roles. But during the 2016 single audit, one of the findings related to not conducting risk assessments with our vendors, and we met with Mr. Barron and his folks and the auditors and determined that no one within the county is able to assist with this. So it's actually a lower pay grade to create an accountant 2 position to go ahead and monitor the fiscal performance of our vendors in human services.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I have a question, if I may.
Sure, please.
I have no problem with the position, and I know we always try to see if there's one we can eliminate and create, and that's always been something that we've tried to do. The question I have is, and I'm certainly well aware of Ms. Kapoor's talents and her abilities, and she has quite a few. The only thing I'm concerned about, or curious, and I know it's been vacant, so you're confident, I know when we had a personnel analyst, and at times, not this department, but there were times where there were past HR departments that weren't exactly happy about human services having their own. But one thing they understood very well was civil service.
Sure.
They understood things as almost like it was a skilled position as opposed to a human resources generalist. So even when we'd go and have contract negotiations, I mean, they were able to spot check all kinds of things, grievances. You feel confident at this point between, I don't know how long it's been vacant, to be honest with you.
It was vacant when I arrived.
Really? All right.
So I'm not missing it.
No, I understand
because
that. You never had it.
I didn't have it.
I found it indispensable, but that was another time and another place.
No, Mr. Heckman, I'll say that because of the HR department that we have now,
Yeah.
it's easy for me to eliminate this position. I certainly rely heavily on Liz and her staff. for a whole variety of things, although not civil service, that Georgine has become the civil service guru along with Marianne Heck and Children and Youth.
Okay.
And that's essential, right? We absolutely have to have people who that's part of their focus. And but that said, I'm a firm believer about the getting hit by a bus, and I don't want one person to know how to do this, which is why the deputy will at least have some knowledge. But no, I'm totally confident, given the HR department.
Yeah, I think at that time, too, I mean, we didn't have all the unions you have now. So the big hit was in human services. You had two big, well, one really big union and one union that felt like it was a big union when you had to go through grievances and negotiations. So, I mean, it was helpful. But, yeah,
Sure.
Times have changed, and I just wanted to ask that.
Yeah,
That's
no,
all. And
that's fine.
I agree with the position. I have no problem with it. I'm curious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Any other questions or comments? If not, how about a motion for moving it for full council
So moved.
consideration? Thank you. Good, moving on. All right. The next one is also from the Department of Human Services, a resolution to Northampton County Council, one full-time position of caseworker 3, pay grade PS 37A, salary $44,341 shall be eliminated, and one full-time position of MR program specialist, pay grade HS 39 1A, salary $49,000 shall be created in the Department of Human Services, Mental Health, Early Intervention and Development Program Division, effective March 21st. So I don't know if you wanted to comment on that
Sure.
position?
The years ago, it probably was about a decade ago, when the state changed things up in the world of developmental programs, and we no longer had caseworkers. It really was oversight and monitoring and quality assurance. We retained a caseworker position. That person left to go to another job in the fall, and we spent some time assessing what the true need was. And we know that there has not been any case management functions in that division for quite some time, but it was only solidified when we got our administrative entity agreement from the state in December that clearly had a sentence that says there are no case management duties within developmental programs. So the biggest issue was we're going from a union to a non-union position. But before we came here and I had spoken with Mr. McLaurin, it was important to us. I had a conversation with our then chief shop steward to explain, and ultimately, had we not changed the position, we would simply have a vacant caseworker 3 position, because we're not allowed to fill it. There's no caseworker duties. So obviously, that's not an ideal situation, but they certainly understood, and we've, as you guys know, you've approved a fair amount of new union positions for children and youth just 6 or 7 months ago. So, and they're getting filled. So, that's all I have.
Any other questions or comments on this position?
I got a question.
Sure.
Sorry. You're here,
Absolutely.
and this
Yeah,
way
now's the time.
save time tomorrow
That's
when
fine.
Ms. Hefner wants to run through her meeting, and I won't get in her way. So I just want to ask a question on the letter that you sent to, and actually this is informational for me, which helps me when I'm out and about with the public. On number 7 says eligibility now includes individuals with autism spectrum disorder. So this person, I mean, 25 years ago, we had difficulty if folks came in, autism was
Sure.
was almost like, what are you talking about? We don't even know. So we're at a point now where this lady's grandson is on the spectrum, mild, but on the spectrum, and she was asking about what we have, and I referred her to give a call to the
Good.
county.
Good.
But we're in a place now where, like this case, this person, but the department, the division as a whole, if somebody calls you regarding autism, we have various services that we can provide, or at least direct them to.
We do. So that function actually happens within the IRIS division.
Okay.
They have staff who do some of those initial assessments. The state is still trying to figure out the autism waiver piece.
Yeah, I get it.
Shocking. But they've made progress, and I will say they have eliminated one of the restrictions that was making this impossible, one of the requirements for a particular neurological test. So we're making headway, but we're not there yet. But yes, we have folks who do initial screenings to determine where families would be best served.
I think that's great because I really felt for these families. In fact, we had one of the first at NACAC. We put together a group. Some speakers came and the parents, and they really nowhere to go. And the state had no answers. We certainly had no answers. They were fighting with each other, as you know, as to who's going to pay. That's usually what it works out to be. So I just want to say I'm glad because these parents were swimming in dark waters for a long time with Mr. Lott and Mr. Kraft, maybe. But anyway, no,
we're getting there.
We're getting there. Okay.
There.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, can we get a, all right,
So moved.
motion to move this full council, thank you.
Oh, Lori.
All right,
Lori.
we got another one yet for the Department of Human Services.
Keep it moving. Unlike that train today. Keep it moving.
Hereby resolved, Northampton County Council, one full-time position of clerical specialist, pay grade CR 17-4D, salary at $35,870, shall be upgraded to one full-time position of administrative specialist, pay grade CR 18-4D, salary of $37,560 in the Sheriff's Department. Okay, this is for the Sheriff's Department. Okay, and do we have any comments or questions about the, I guess my question would be, do we have someone for this position?
Yeah, what it is there is a clerical specialist who has been cross-trained on how to be an administrative specialist and has been in the acting role for the last 6 months. And we're coming towards the end of that now.
Okay.
And based on job descriptions, he would have to go back. And he would no longer be allowed to work on the project. Right now we have 2,700 warrants. The state makes us verify 225 a month, plus we have an average of 75 warrants that come in every month. The state changed the requirements, there's a lot more requirements, and because we're the keeper of the records, every police department, they have their arrest warrants, but once they're arraigned, they then become county warrants, and now we're responsible. So any information that was missing, we now have to find out.
Wow.
We can't give it back to them because we have what we call an ORI, which is the originating agency number. Now it's on my number, so it's up to me to find the missing pieces. We were behind during an audit. They said we had to correct 1,900 records. John was put in there. He hasn't brought us up to speed, but we corrected the 800 that they requested be done to pass the audit. And now it's just an ongoing project. And he's very competent, very intelligent. He's interested in the work. And we've used him before in an acting role, and this would kind of, let's stop that. Let's, attack this the way it should be, because we only have one person there, another administrative specialist. If they go on vacation or other leave, we end up behind, and you never catch up. And the current person now is responsible to answer phones, work on those warrants, and then monitor the system. So if the police department calls in and says there's a warrant, well, they have to stop answering the telephone, stop doing this. And the machine itself, you have to answer within 10 minutes. So it's a lot of pressure. So here you have one person who, if that's what they have to do, it's kind of like a 9/11 operator who has the same responsibilities. Now, the other option to resolve this is having a deputy who gets paid significantly more, and then, we're paying them to be trained, carry a weapon, all that, where this would be a fixed, small monetary, but it will definitely get the job done. Plus, he's much more proficient with typing skills, data entry, and things like that. He takes it very serious. He enjoys the new work. I think it's positive for the department and for him, for his growth as an employee.
Thank you. Other questions? Mr. Cusick?
Just one. In your letter, you indicated that this is because of new requirements set by the FBI and the Pennsylvania State Police. Could you maybe give us some idea as to what those are and why they're in place?
There's a thing called the miscellaneous field. So now if somebody will arrest you, look at you, put down your height, weight, eye color, whatever, they don't ask you to have tattoos. Well, you've been arrested before and tattoos were put in there. So now we have to go and say, no, he has this tattoo. We have to check pictures from the jail to show what the tattoo is. So, and the problem here more is that we now have these results. We have warrants from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s that now this requirement is necessary. That's why when they send the validations down, that's the audit, it's 1/12 of all your warrants. So we have 2,700, it's 225, but it could be decades from the 80s. And now to get those records, we don't even have pictures of them. You know, it wasn't required, there's no fingerprints. But we have to do whatever effort we can, and that's where it takes time to, you know, he could spend a half hour, 45 minutes working on one case. It's unsuccessful, but we can't just dismiss it and tell them we're not going to do it because they won't allow us to operate the system. So.
Thank you.
May I ask?
Oh, please.
Thanks for coming up this afternoon. The audit that was done, when was it done and who did it?
The state police. The state
Police
police
did
comes
the
in
audit?
every 3 years to do the audit, and then they tell you if you're deficient and give you a certain amount of time to get up to speed.
Okay.
And they point out what your deficiency is. So they identified that we were 1,900 records behind. They said get these 1,800 up, and then we put the deputy on it, the specialist was on it, and then we got John involved with it, and then we ended up getting those 800 so we could pass the audit. And now we're good for 3 years, but they can still come in and spot check us if we're not.
I guess that was my follow-up question. Is there a follow-up that they will do that could, I mean, would be any jeopardy for you?
It's if we're not in compliance, if they see, like, we're actually taking, Sergeant Volpe had all the employees in my department, in the custodial department, and one of the other departments fingerprinted and background check, because that was a requirement. Okay. So these are all new requirements. They're saying if anybody has any access, they can look over your shoulder or see a report, they have to be fingerprinted and a background check, because that information can't be shared. If you share the information, you violate the agreement, and they'll pull the service from us.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. Motion to move full council?
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Aren't you glad I came?
Absolutely. And I think that calls for a motion of adjournment.
So moved.
Okay. Unless there's anything else.
Anybody need 5 minutes? You okay?
She's got a date tonight.
She's got a date? Okay. Okay.
She's got
I'll wait till she's got something.
Sorry.
It's okay. You don't have to say excuse me, that's fine. Okay, the Finance Committee meeting will now commence. First thing, courtesy of the floor.
Oh, I had something.
You.
Yes.
John-
Thank you.
John's
Well,
got some.
just one quick kudos to the Retirement Board, who recently sent out pension benefit statements.
Yeah, that's
I'd never seen one before.
That's right.
And I thought it was excellent, and it gives the employees a chance to clarify any mistakes or problems that they have. Something that I'm currently working on. Thank you.
We did get one before, though. Not as comprehensive.
I've
That's
never seen anything like that.
Well, we're new to it. We just got we told us what the pensions were.
It's something they've been doing.
It's a nice thing. It really is. Okay. May I continue, John?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. First thing, a review of a donation from Partners for a New Beginning to the Northampton County Problem-Solving Courts. This is Jerry Weaver, the president of local nonprofit Partners for a New Beginning, contacted us to advise the organization wishes to make a donation of $1,000 to the Northampton County Problem-Solving Courts to be used at the court's discretion. It would be the court's intention to use the money to offset the costs of drug testing for duly diagnosed mental health court participants. I see that Judge Daly's here. I would like to invite you up to speak on this, please.
And thank you for entertaining this request. Partners for a New Beginning is a group in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, that's made up of individuals that have been touched in some fashion from the addiction crisis. Some of the individuals are parents of children that died of overdoses, others who have been impacted in some other ways. But so they reached out to see what they could do, and they've helped us in other instances informally, but they asked us if there was any need that we have, and the need that we have is with our mental health court, because we're fortunate to have about a $220,000 grant from the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency that funds many of the benefits in drug court. So our drug court participants each get a free drug test paid for by the drug court every week. they have to have 8 to 10 per month. Those that are in our TCAP intermediate punishment program, that's funded through the state, and they don't pay at all for drug tests. In mental health court, not everyone has to submit the drug to urine tests, but those that are dual diagnosed and have issues with drugs or alcohol, we'd like to place them on tests. And in many cases, they're indigent and they can't afford it, and there's no other funding stream for that. So that's what we propose to use the money for.
Any questions for the judge or regarding the resolution? Okay. It is the understanding that before we accept donations, it has to be approved by resolution by County Council. So we're allowing this to serve as a formal request as a matter to be placed on our next available council meeting. Any questions? Move to the meeting.
So moved.
Second. Okay.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I was trying to get
Okay.
it going.
Second thing, review of donation from Sheepdog Cigar Club Incorporated.
This is very
I don't know
important.
what that is either, so to the Department of Corrections. However, it says, the Sheepdog Cigar Club is a nonprofit organization raising funds and collecting essential supplies to support local canine units, and a donation of dog food and essential supplies in the amount of $1,006.24 was received from the Sheepdog Cigar Club for the Department of Corrections canine Danny. Is that that's the new pup?
Please approve it quickly because she won't eat.
She's hungry. Okay.
She can eat, Ted.
Is there any question? Mr. Kraft, would you like to talk about the donation for Danny? I'm sure that Mr. Heckman would love to hear from you, okay?
Well, a little bit about the Sheepdog Club. It's members must be active, registered, and honorably discharged police, fire, EMS, dispatch, corrections, or military.
Wow.
And their whole purpose is to get together, and it's lifetime dues. You have to donate $10, buy 2 cigars, send 1 to the club, which they give to the military. They send up to somebody that's in the military somewhere. And the donation automatically is entered into a raffle, and they support nothing but canines. That's the whole purpose of the club, to support canines like our Danny, and hopefully our other canine if we get one. So it's a great club. You know, we had no knowledge of them. They just, you know, came and said they wanted to support the dog.
It's nice.
So we wish you did it because Danny's been looking at the food. I think she patrolled it.
PetSmart.
Pardon me? Good job. It's secret? No, this isn't secret. The other one's secret. Yeah, oh, yeah, that's secret too. Yeah, we don't have another dog. If we get another dog.
You never mentioned another dog.
Okay, are you trying to get rid of your
I'm
dog?
sorry, you're on record as it is, Mr. Kraft.
Are you trying to pass
Excuse
off
me.
your dog?
Mr. Kraft, you want to say anything to Mr. Heckman? You got a shot in before you leave?
Oh,
He
God,
does
no.
that to you know.
Oh, yeah. No, I always praise his style. I like your tan. You look better than the Commander-in-Chief.
Tan. We were underwater the whole time.
I've heard all about it.
Yeah.
I heard you're just as congenial underwater as you are above water.
Wow. I'm going to intervene at this point because it's getting too deep, literally. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kraft, and thank the Sheepdog Cigar Club for us also. Okay.
Motion to recommend to full council.
So moved.
Okay. I guess.
Oh, that was it. Oh,
No, that's fine.
So moved.
Okay. So we put that. That's
I'm
good.
stepping out.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Number 3, review of 4. Discussion regarding an E911 and tax credits. We'll have Mr. Barron, who's going to be passing one out for us. Information. Tax credits.
Just the one sheet?
Just one sheet.
So I missed the council meeting when this was discussed about the credits for E911. So I wanted to explain sort of how this has evolved, I guess. So from the very beginning, back to the MCI days of 1998, when the county then took back over 911 services, the municipalities that either participated in Lehigh County or had their own 911 service, like the city of Bethlehem, said they didn't want to have to pay the portion for the county to take over the 911 services because they had made significant investments in 911 services either in Bethlehem or bought into 911 services as in North Caddy and Walnutport in Lehigh County. So they were given by resolution a millage rate decrease based on the amount of money that was given in county dollars towards 911 services. Now, that was calculated, I guess, by resolution by the Controller's Office, and a report was done for 2 years. So my office, I don't. Did you have to do that this year, Bucky? Because I think okay. This will probably be the last year that they do it in the Controller's Office going forward because we've rectified everything that's been outstanding. So basically, here's how the process worked. We looked at over the 2-year period whether there was a discount given, whether there was not a discount given, and how it worked out. And in all cases, those municipalities overpaid, and therefore they were granted a discount. I think there was 1 year it actually reversed the other way. Now, since the funding sources for 911 have changed, and they have consolidated, and the state now gives the money, and the county doesn't really have to supplement as much anymore, this year there was really no county contribution towards that service at all. So, as you look in 2018 and 2019, the millage rates were charged equally. Every year prior to that, going back to 2008, when County Council passed the millage rate, what they did was they factored in the calculation from the Controller's Office, and they set 2 millage rates for participating and then non-participating in that resolution. Okay? So you'll see the participating rate from 2008 until 2014 was 10.8. And it was basically a 0.4 to 0.5 millage rate, or 0.4 to 0.3 millage rate decrease depending upon the calculation. You'll notice in 2009 they paid like a 0.1 mils higher. And then in 2015, when taxes were raised 1 mil, the city of Bethlehem and North Caddy and Walnutport had their taxes raised 1.3 mils because their participating rate went way down. So on the heels of my audit report saying that the discount should not be as steep, council raised taxes by 1 mil, so therefore the increase was higher. And then in 2017, everything equaled out of that 0.1 mils. We don't anticipate anything changing in that funding mechanism, and we've put a great deal of resources into consolidating the 911 systems. So I think the resolution is moot at this point. And every year when County Council passes a resolution for the millage rate, or the ordinance for the millage rate, I'm sorry, they look at that number specifically. So it's been equal the last 2 years, and I don't anticipate that changing.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Barron while he's there regarding this? Go ahead, John.
Just, well, thank you very much for clearing this up. I didn't realize that the change had occurred over the last couple of years. I guess, my question is, and first of all, I was shocked that it was done by resolution. My thought, and I think our solicitor concurred, was that any rate of taxation should have been done by ordinance. So that was a mistake from the past, but we'll let that bygones be bygones. So I guess my question is there any action that council would have to take, either repealing the old resolution, or is it just unnecessary? I think maybe that's
council,
a legal opinion.
I mean, you have to listen to your solicitor, but council has always approved the millage rate by ordinance. They do so every year. When you approve the millage rate, you can choose to consider whatever in that regard when you look at the budget. So I don't want to presuppose what a future council is going to do, but you're passing the millage rate by ordinance now, which is, I believe, legal. I hope so. We've been doing it that way for a while.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Heckman.
Yeah, I think, and I agree with Mr. Kusick in the sense that as I went through it and I realized that should have been an ordinance, and it was a resolution, and I think I was already off council by then. I don't remember, but I mean, maybe I was on. The thing is, though, you're right. You're right. I mean, because we were excluding and it was a mess. But now that this law is pretty straightforward, I mean, I think it just dies on the vine, and everybody's going to be in the same boat. Bethlehem no longer gets the, and that you haven't been giving it to them for 2 years. So when we do our regular thing at the end of the year, they'll be part of everybody else.
Let me just interject this,
Yeah.
maybe just as a precautionary measure. We could get an opinion from our solicitor, if we should or shouldn't, just to be safe, and if, I'm sure we'll find out rather rapidly if we need to or not, okay? That's just my opinion, if you guys, whatever you guys want to do. Okay? Steve, you okay with that?
It's council's pleasure.
Thank you.
Job.
Okay, any further questions? We'll let Steve wait for the days and release them. Okay. Okay, Mr. Zaborski's up next with the controller reports. First one's agreed upon procedure audit, Keystone Opportunity Zones. That's Mr. Cusick's favorite area, so.
Thank you. I have 5 reports to review. First one, at the request of County Council, we did an agreed-upon procedures audit of the county properties approved for a KOZ tax abatement. The first procedure was to obtain a list of parcels coded as KOZ in the County of Northampton's IAS World Tax Assessment System. Our findings were that there are 31 currently properties eligible for tax abatement, 29 in Easton and 2 in Wilson Borough. Original approval to enter the program was enacted by County Council on February 22nd, 2013, and expires December 31st, 2023. Tax abatement is not automatic. All property owners must reapply to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development annually to continue to be eligible. The second procedure was to document improvements made on properties through evidence on hand in assessment. We consulted with the County Deputy Assessment Manager with regards to physical improvements made on properties. We found not all properties that were approved by Pennsylvania DCED for tax abatement had improvements documented. However, according to the program coordinator for Lehigh Valley Economic Development Corporation, property improvements are not the only criteria. Job creation is another factor. Third, we traced each property to an approval letter from the from Pennsylvania DCED to remain active in the program for the current year. We found for the tax year of 2017, 22 approval letters were received into the assessment office for the 31 eligible properties. Fourth, we ensured that current tax has been either imposed or abated based on approval by the Pennsylvania DCED. We traced all properties to records in the ISA World System. In all cases where approval letters were received from Pennsylvania DCED, taxes were properly abated. For 5 non-exempt properties for which the county did not receive approval letters, we found county taxes were imposed and paid in full on 4 of the properties. The 5th was approved for tax abatement under the Local Economic Revitalization Tax Assistance Program, LERTA. The total tax exonerated for all KOC properties in 2017 was $15,796.99. That's the first one. Any questions?
Questions?
Just a quick comment. I'm thrilled. I think this is an excellent look. We pass some of these economic development incentives, and we never take a look and see, are they working? Are we following up? I didn't know all the requirements that they had to reapply annually, and I thank you for checking into that, because some of the properties, one specifically I can think of, it appears that they've really done nothing and met none of the requirements.
And they have been paying their taxes.
So
that's the only thing. Well, they are default in their school taxes, but they have been paying their county taxes.
Well, I live in that school district, so that bothers me.
It's another day.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. The next one is the non-site visits.
This is the hotel room tax audit for the non-site visits. These are hotels which report less than $8,000 annually in hotel taxes for the period of January 1st, 2016 to December 31st, 2017. And we do not go on-site for these. They included the Kirkman Inn, Chelsea Sun Inn, Riverton Hotel, the Hampton Hotel, the Rustic Dreams B&B, and Hanover Eatery. Now, we determine if the hotel tax revenue reported to the County Controller's Office by the hotel operators is comparable to the tax remittance to the county. Our findings was that we checked all 24 months in remittance and for each year, and we found the following. The Revenue Division never received payment from the Chelsea Sun Inn for April 2017. Tax due for that month was $544.97. Penalty interest of $163.49 for lack of payment results in a total of $708.46 due to the county. In 2 months, the Riverton Hotel claimed invalid exemptions, resulting in additional tax and interest due to the county of $55.54. The accountant for the Hampton Inn Hotel failed to return the verification form after numerous requests were made. The verification form returned by Rustic Dreams B&B differed slightly from the remittance form, but the operator paid the greater of the tax due or tax collected each year. The verification form returned from the Hanover Eatery and Kirkland Inn agreed with the remittance forms submitted to the county, indicating revenue and taxes appeared to be reasonably stated. That concludes that one.
Okay. Any questions?
It seems like, oh, I'm sorry. It seems like two have done what they're supposed to do, and the rest don't have issues.
So
That's all, just a question.
my curiosity here is the one that just failed to return the form. What are we doing?
Basically, there's nothing we can do. They submit the form. Well, the interesting thing to me is we give them a form, and all they have to do is copy what they submitted, and they submit different numbers.
They're ratting on themselves.
John, can I ask a question? No,
Yeah.
Because I don't totally understand, to be honest with you. So what we're saying is, like, for example, the Chelsea and the first one, they still owe us the $708.46 or less. I mean, they never paid. Is that what happened here?
The accountant filed
It's
an
still
amendment.
outstanding?
Yeah, the accountant filed an amendment remittance for 2017, correcting the error, which had no impact on the tax due. So they.
So they made the.
They paid it,
okay,
yeah.
I
They
just
paid
read that. But the Riverton Hotel, for example, well, that's 50. All right, but they result in additional tax and interest due to the county. All right, fine. Thank you. You made it clear.
But as far as the Hampton Inn, we send them a form, ask them to fill it out and verify their numbers, and we didn't get a response.
Okay.
I'm not sure where that place is. Or if I'd want to know.
Either do they.
The last part of the comment was fun.
Any further
right?
questions? Let Mr. Zaborski move on to the Courtyard Marriott.
Okay, the next one is for the Courtyard Marriott. We determine if the revenue, exempt revenues and taxes due are, as reported, are accurate. We compared 24 months remittance forms submitted during the period, and we found that payment for June 2016 was $32.76 higher than the calculation with no apparent explanation. In 3 months during 2016 and 2017, the hotel underpaid taxes due as the operator's financial records showed greater revenue than that reported on the remittance form. In 1 month, 2016, taxable revenues per the operator's financial record was less than the taxable revenue reported, resulting in an overstatement of taxable revenue and an overpayment of tax of $240. The hotel paid and submitted remittance late on one occasion in April 2016 and paid a penalty of $218. All other payments were received on time. The May 2017 tax remittance was $804 less than the calculation due to a clerical error. No penalty was assessed since the hotel paid the shortage. The second procedure was to determine if the operator was using the latest version of the remittance form and that the form was completed in a prior and appropriate manner. We inspected and recalculated all 24 remittance forms and found that the hotel used an outdated version of the form in January and February of 2016. All other forms were used by the correct form. On one occasion in 2016, the hotel took an exemption for a miscalculation and overstated. The understatement taxable revenue and resulted in the overpayment of $4.89 in tax and interest. Based on the above findings, we determined that the Courtyard Marriott is owed a credit by the county of $245.97 for overpayment of hotel room tax.
Wow.
That concludes that one.
Obviously, the Marriott and the Hampton use the same accountant by their standards, the way they're doing it. Okay,
The next one was the
court administration.
Court administration cash collection process. We reviewed cash collection work assigned to determine if a proper segregation of duties is in place. We found that segregation of duties is adequate. The second procedure was to select a sample of 5 receipts and verify that they were deposited on the same day as received, and that the cash check mix agrees to the validated deposit slip. The sample of receipts selected, including 2 receipts from miscellaneous sources and 3 from transcript fee collected. Of the 5 receipts tested, 1 transcript fee collected was deposited on the day cash was received. The other 2 fee receipts were not deposited the same day it was received. The 2 receipts from miscellaneous sources did not have adequate documentation available to show deposits were made the day cash was received. Based on the documentation provided for the receipts, the cash check mix agreed to the validated deposit slip. The third procedure, for offices with bank accounts, and this department does not have responsibility for any bank accounts. So that concludes that report.
Okay, thank you. And follow up on tax billing audit?
It is the policy of our office, as required by the government accounting standards, to follow up on all audit report recommendations. We performed follow-up on the tax billing audit dated October 2017 and issued July the 18th, 2018. First recommendation was recommended that the county should comply in all cases with Pennsylvania state law. The Revenue Division should discontinue refunding amounts less than $100 without a completed application received from the homeowner, and all unclaimed overpayments should be escheated to the state after no longer than 3 years. In her response to our audit, the revenue manager stated that she would make the necessary arrangements to escheat to the state by December 31st, 2018, the $87,257.49 in unclaimed prior year tax refunds that the county was holding. Since corrective action has been taken, no further follow-up is planned. The second recommendation was we recommended that the county should incorporate the language required by the status in bold type as part of the reminder notice it normally sends to taxpayers who are in danger of becoming delinquent on taxes owed. In her response, the revenue manager stated that she would endeavor to incorporate as best possible the language required by law in the yearly reminder notices, beginning with the reminder notice mailed during the month of November 2018. Due to time issues associated with the printing of the forms, it could not be incorporated. We will follow up on this issue again following the issuance of the November 2019 reminder notices. And then the final recommendation was we recommended that the procedures related to tax billing process be documented and included in the Fiscal Policies and Procedures Manual. In her response, the revenue manager stated that she will make efforts to document the real estate tax billing process in a policy and procedure manual as time allows. We will follow up again in 6 months, determine the status of our recommendations. That concludes my report.
Questions?
Yes.
I don't have a question for Mrs. Boyd. I have a question for Mr. Barron.
Mr. Barron, would you?
Oh, you did a great job.
You
I got
care to
questions
answer,
for
Mr.
him.
Well,
Heckman?
I had a good teacher.
Thank you.
I can't do that Irish dance. That's the only thing. But
Neither can he.
Either can I.
That's Delaney.
Steve, I just wanted to ask you, I'm just curious with the hotels, because we've talked about hotels. What do you do when you get this report? I mean, the various findings. I mean, do we do anything?
So we make sure that we, in the Revenue Division, we make sure that we follow up to get these the issues resolved, whatever they may be. If we owe the person money, they're well aware of that, and they take it off of most times they just take it off of their next remittance. So if they have a credit on their account, they check on the credit, and then they take it off of their next monthly remittance. So it usually balances itself out. Sometimes, if there's a habitual offender, so some of the smaller organizations, oftentimes what happens is they're folding up or the hotel will go into receivership. Then we don't really have much recourse. There was an issue with that. Those of you who have been on council for a while remember the Comfort Inn and Suites on the south side of Bethlehem. There was an owner, a hotel group that owned it. It went into receivership. Some of the taxes had to be forgiven, and then it opened back up under another name. The person wasn't remitting hotel taxes, and therefore we had to remind the person they needed to do that. So usually it's a very active process between revenue and the controller's office. It's gotten a little bit easier, I venture to say, with Airbnb, because now, think places like the rustic B&B, so to speak. While it's a smaller hotel, we wouldn't waste a lot of time going out there to check on them. They get captured up in the Airbnb process. So the great thing is, eventually, getting the taxes from Airbnb, we'll be able to capture some of that additional revenue, but we'll also capture, because if you put your property out there and it's rented, if the person wants to rent it, they have to pay all fees associated with it. So therefore, the hotelier doesn't even get the fees to remit to the county. We get it directly from Airbnb. And you may remember that we had someone, when I first came into office, who actually was collecting the local taxes and then not remitting it, and then pretending that they found out about it just very recently. And when we went to go look at their books, we ended up going back with a county detective. So
if the old forms are used, we then follow up and say, hey, we have a new form. I mean, and if you don't get something back from somebody, we check if they're even still in business. Or
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of follow-up that goes with that.
Okay.
I used to, as a controller, I would go to Jim Hunter, and I said, this organization, they show it, there was this one Norwegian Airbnb on 611, and they were operating very specifically as a hotel. They had a hotel-esque website and the whole thing, and it was only rented really on Airbnb. So we've done a lot of the following up on some of those, but it's gotten easier where people are using the e-commerce and the online economy.
Thank you,
and
Chairman,
we've collected
that's all I have.
24,000 from Airbnb, so we're doing pretty well.
Thank you, Steve. And thank you, Mr. Dvorsky, for your due diligence and your reporting. Any further questions for anyone? Okay, I move to adjourn. Second. Fast. That's because we don't screw around with these things.
I slipped on the ice.
We just move it faster, that's all, John.
So, yeah, I got that.